Several destroyers were also visible, though farther away, steaming back and forth between the launch platform and several dozen civilian boats, yachts, crammed to the gunwales with protesters. The anti-nuclear peace and environmental activists were out in full force, having a wonderful holiday and making as much of a nuisance of themselves as possible. With their onboard nuclear reactors, the Super Aegis killer satellites certainly had something for everyone to worry about. The threat of nuclear contamination if a rocket failed to reach orbit had been minimized, but could not be eliminated. Then there were those who felt that an effective ICBM shield made nuclear war more likely, not less so. Finally, there were those who felt that it was obscene to spend so much money on a system that would, in all likelihood, never be used. All these cares and concerns had worked their way through the political process, and here sat the first component of the Super Aegis system, ready to launch. One of the civilians standing nearby, surrounded by aides and colleagues, was the Secretary of State, whose idea it had been to include Europe and Russia under the Super Aegis missile shield. That masterstroke had cleared the way politically. The rockets lifting the satellites were made in Russia, and the launch was funded by the Europeans. The anti-ballistic missile defense system itself, the Super Aegis satellites, were purely American. The general details of how the system worked were, of course, common knowledge. It had been publicized around the globe and argued at great length in the legislative halls from Washington to Moscow, but the technology at the heart of the system was highly classified. It would have to remain that way to ensure it could not be defeated by rogue, pirate, or outlaw states that might, in the future, get an itch to launch a ballistic missile at the Western Allies. The Secretary of State had plenty of company today. With him were the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Advisor. No doubt the President and the rest of the Cabinet would also have been there if one of the protesters had not pointed out that if the rocket exploded on the platform, an unlikely event, conceivably the entire government delegation might be immolated. This, the protester said wryly, would not be a complete disaster. So the President stayed home. One of the civilians, in a tailored gray suit, standing at the Secretary's elbow, was General Eric Fireball Williams, a former chairman of the Joint Chiefs. These days he was the president of Consolidated Aerospace, the prime contractor for Super Aegis. After the protesters' immolation crack, Williams had publicly announced that he was going to be in the control room during the launch. Super Aegis had saved Consolidated, according to the press. $50 billion spent so far, with more to come. Most of the other big-ticket American weapons procurement programs had been canceled to fund the ICBM shield. Many people in and out of uniform had argued bitterly about the wisdom of that. But the public wanted protection, and $100 billion was a lot of gravy to be spread far and wide, so Congress had gone along. After all, the argument went, America was the only superpower, with planes, ships, and tanks enough to defeat anyone on Earth, so the real threat was from third-world regimes developing weapons of mass destruction. Super Aegis, the argument went, would be a big first step in protecting Western civilization. And with $100 billion to spread around, there was something for everybody. As one commentator pointed out, what's not to like? If it works, Jake Grafton muttered. "Oh, ye of little faith. It will work, Admiral," said the man beside him after glancing at Jake's uniform and name tag. His name was Peter Kerr, and he was the engineer in charge of Super Aegis. Jake recognized him from several meetings that he had attended chaired by Kerr. To the best of Jake's recollection, Kerr had never spoken to him before. In fact, he would have been amazed if the man even remembered him. "In fact, Super Aegis is the only anti-missile defense system that would work," Kerr said as he looked at the dignitaries peering into the rocket's first-stage exhaust nozzles and gazing up, up, up. "All the academics said it couldn't be done, but there it is. The sensors in the satellite detect the exhaust of an ICBM booster lifting out of the atmosphere. The reactor powers up, generating the energy to track the warhead with radar and destroy it with a pulse laser. Solves the detection and interception problems neatly, cheaply, and automatically." "A better mousetrap," Jake agreed. Peter Kerr looked at him sharply, glanced again at